Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Growth Podcast, the entrepreneur's journey. Today we got with us Dr. Waja, who's been in about 3+ decades in the dentistry industry. He's not just in the dentistry industry, he's broadened his horizons and branched up into a few different other investments and markets. That's why he's here today. He also runs, as you can see, the Waja Ka Meno Trust, which he will tell us a bit more about. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Cousin Sobit, how are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, Zubair. Much appreciated.
Sobit, to begin with, why dentistry? And how was your upbringing? You know, a lot of our fathers, grandfathers, here to soon was a party during those years.
Yeah.
It was very difficult, and stuff. We want to share the journey to show people that no matter what is faced, especially in our country at the moment, things don't look great. You open a new seas, despite all those challenges. Our grandparents, parents have managed to overcome a lot of stress, and that's part of why we started this project in this podcast to share people's journeys.
Yes.
So it can be a means of inspiration or motivation for somebody else, despite the challenges or whatever they face. So how is it?
All right. So, Zubair, to take a step back to how our journeys begin and the current state of South Africa, when we share with youngsters and the youth the life that we lived in those days, it's almost unimaginable to be. So I grew up in what was those days your conventional extended family. We were two families living together in one virtually 3-bedroom house with a small cottage as a back. So my father and his brother were living together in one house. We are 10 kids and they were 11 kids. And then we had our aunties living with us as well. So more or less in one house, in what let's say like a 3-bedroom house, a bit of a cottage outside, we were approximately 30 people living at our house. That's myself included. We slept in the passages, we slept in the kitchen. We've got the scars on our body to reflect those days. But they were warm days, they were great days. When we talk about the good old days, we remember them with fondness and with love. And even though our parents might not have been wealthy, but we never felt we were lacking of anything. So we really had a good upbringing, but it was a challenging upbringing. As to why I went into dentistry, it was your classical kind of an Indian family situation. So when most of us were doing well at school, I already had 2 siblings that had become doctors. So my sister had become a doctor. My brother was on the path to becoming a doctor. I was a candidate for a potential doctor, but both of them said to me clearly, listen, do not do medicine, do dentistry, because dentistry is much easier to do. You work from 9 to 5 and you're done. And it's not the case anymore, but in those days, dentistry was also in the top 10 earning professions in South Africa. And I'm talking now in the 1980s. So it was a relatively sort of a logical decision to make at that particular point in time. And people always wonder, what was that passion? Did you have this desire to change people's smiles? No, there was none of it. But what happened is that once I got into the field, I truly found my love and enjoyment in the field of dentistry.
Okay. Based on it, so that you went into an industry and you found it now. A lot of people today, and I see it among the youngsters that we sit down and speak to, friends, I don't know, or my friends, I don't know, other than stuff. We see a lot of them not sure what they're going to do. After coming to matric, when we grow up, we get to know this is what you wanted to do. I guess times have changed. Maybe there's a lot of different career paths now that they've opened up with technology and stuff like that. But what do you feel about taking a gap year for a guy who's coming straight out of school? Or do you feel they should try going to something instead? Just to help them fine-tune where they want to go. Because I also see a lot of people, they start one course, they give up on it, and then they move to another course, and then 5 years later, they're still in second at campus because they're in the third course now. So my take is maybe take the gap year.
Yes.
It really builds, I think, and I'm not saying that they don't travel if you have the luxury of traveling to work, getting to some industry or some potential industry that you like, and see how it goes, because I think it builds not only your character, but it also shapes you into more or less more what you want. Because when you're at school, I don't think you fully understand the world out there. and people into gamblers, and I see and I recount those mistakes. And so, yes, what's your think like?
So my take is a little bit different. I'm not particularly a big fan of the gap year, but everything that you say has complete relevance, as for complete importance. These days, I think the youth had the luxury of, I don't want to say time, but they have the luxury of choice. When we came out, we didn't have a lot of opportunities in terms of choice. And I also feel that really after 10, 12 years in school, you had to have done some deep thinking by that point in time already in order to start shaping the direction that you are going. My feel is when the guys take the gap year, I've never seen him so all of a sudden within 1 year so decisively shape the direction that they're going to go into. But nonetheless, you have that benefit these days of being able to take the gap year. And if you do find that it's that you need that kind of space to clarify in your mind what you are to do, then by all means, I think, use that time. But certainly, I wouldn't advise someone to waste it. I would do exactly what you say, is that travel, expose yourself to a host of career experiences, and expose yourself to a host of lifestyle experiences. So that will be part of your traveling. For example, would you spend some time on the olive farms in Palestine? Right? Would you spend some time serving a particular need, a medical need, for example, in a country where there is maybe a shortage of medical expertise? And it's those kind of components that will build up character and also shape your decision in terms of which direction you really want to go.
So, so good. But I know you've been in the practice, I don't know if it's possible, regional practice, but from the time when I was a kid, I remember coming to your practice, and I used to go in Southgate.
Yeah.
And still in Southgate?
Still in Southgate, yeah.
No, why I'm asking is, I've spoken to a few other personal servicing, speak to the guys, and a lot of them over time either move or they move premises, or they move to somewhere else, or they change even in terms of selling the product. You're doing this product and you realize this product doesn't work in the market. So obviously you have to change your product or your brand or whatever it is and move into a new market or a new space.
Yes.
You've chosen to stay in that market. I'm sure your clientele over the year has changed.
Yes.
So the type of clientele they can see.
Absolutely.
But you still decided to stay. And I think, if I'm not mistaken from what you were saying, that's still one of your main practices that operate today.
Absolutely.
So why stay, and how was it issue?
So the journey was such that Southgate actually wasn't my first practice. So I had two other practices prior to me buying Southgate. It was the normal thing at that point in time for an ambitious Indian guy to do. One of the only dentists that I worked for was Dr. Ashraf Lehe. And Dr. Ashraf Lehe would always tell me, I taught you too well. So he had several practices. And then when I opened up my two practices one day, and they say, Allah is the way making things happen. While I was sitting at my nuclear practice, a rep just walked in and said to me, Dr. Waja, how would you like to buy practice in Southgate? I must share with you at that point in time, this is exactly how old I am. At that point in time, there were only like 3 malls in the whole of Joburg. So it was like Southgate Mall, Westgate, and Eastgate. Northgate and those places did not even exist. Forget Crest, something like that. So it was a real status symbol to have a practice in one of the malls. Anyway, I bought that practice. We went through a hell of an experience in finally getting established in that mall. One day, inshallah, when we have time, I'll tell you about it a little bit. But nonetheless, that practice has really become the backbone and the absolute, the backbone and the passion and the thrust of my life. And everything that I have achieved, Allah has used that practice as the conduit for me to get anywhere else at that point. So that practice is consistently growing up till now. This is how to get to a point when the markets change and so onwards. What our road has been is that we've consistently rebranded the practice. This is an active process. So we've consistently rebranded the practice, and we've taken the practice where the practice in essence has become a destination site. So even though the peripheral markets have changed, so you find a lot of the people that move to the peripheral malls, the people that really matter to us and the people that really want to see us travel to come and see us. That's step number one. Step number two, I must say, within today's markets, there are diverse pockets within today's markets. So even if you think there is a market, say, of an LSM of 6 or an LSM of 7, you will find within that market, there are pockets of people that can afford the finest of dentistry. And then you find there are markets where the LSM might be 9 or 10. And you might find that you have people that are not prepared to spend any money on their dental care. So with the mercy of Allah, currently we are there now for close to about 30 years. And we hope to still be there for another 30 years. But we've been blessed with Southgate Dental Center.
No, I like your take on how you have to constantly rebrand, so it never stays the same. What we change it to adapt to whatever the market or the surrounding areas is. We never necessarily have to move out of this or change a product, but you just rebranded it to cater for whatever market was.
Yes. We're going to just add a touch onto that. So we went through many years of trying to draw some of the elements of the market that we were familiar with that we are not attracting. And then it got to a point where we realized that we are a truly, and then we branded it like this, we are a truly African practice. We are a truly African practice. And our whole brand within the practice became a proudly South African practice. And those are the people that like to come and see us, and those are the people that we would like to see. And anybody that didn't feel comfortable in that kind of a setup, we said to them, thank you, please feel free to go.
Nazi on the discussion, because you spoke about Dr. Waja was just, would you say he was a mentor to you, or was he somebody that just helped you in the reason why I'm approaching this question in this way is, I feel a lot of people, entrepreneurs, whether you're going from a career base, which you are out of your way about your success, or whether you've entered in the market or you're starting a business, we fail to highlight, and I see that what in the Indian community as well currently, we fail to highlight the importance of giving a good mentor or a good figure to drive you and help you to not necessarily make the decision for you, but not for, tell you this is how it needs to be done, but guide you in making those decisions. And especially that like if you have a good mentor, the way you grow from a business point, from an individual's perspective, you can grow in a very positive way, exponentially as well, because you have the right guide to help you, through those challenges and those trials that you face. That's why I'm asking you, is Dr. Waja sort of a mentor, or even somebody that just taught you some aspects of it?
So there's two aspects that come to mind. So number one, he certainly was a mentor. We now have a friendship running back to approximately 30 years. The very couches that we're sitting on now was donated to the Waja Ka Meno Trust by Dr. Waja. So we have a mentorship program that originated 30 years ago, and he continues to be my mentor up till today. But coupled with this, the second part of the account is this aspect of relationships and the aspect of trust. So it is within relationships that businesses are built. Businesses are built when trust exists. When trust doesn't exist, businesses will struggle to exist. People deal with people that they trust, and people deal with people that they like. People will make up their mind in, listen to this, 9 seconds, whether they like you or whether they don't like you. The one component that is lacking today is this element of long-term relationship. Because we're living such a fast life, relationships tend to move and evolve and move off. But long-term relationships are irreplaceable. The one area where mentorship lacks is where you are in communities where people are too scared to share their expertise and too scared to share their goodwill, with the fear that someone might take that away from them. It's a common element that exists in many communities. And unfortunately, that rolls a lot of youngsters from getting exposure or getting access to that kind of knowledge and that kind of path that they could also take.
So another key aspect that we try to highlight as part of our entrepreneur's journey is the importance of networking and how networking plays a tremendous role in growing your business. In you can grow exponentially if you network with the right people in the right way. Take Dr. Lay as an example, and he was a mentor, but he helped you. And he was part of that networking.
Yes.
And I noticed, and I don't understand why, especially as Muslims, in terms of what we learn, in terms of community, in rights from your neighbors, and stuff like we don't necessarily carry that over to the community or to help somebody else because we have this thing and somebody's going to take it away. But what we've realized,
can I say a saying that is commonly said in our Muslim community, and it's said, all my friends would know it. I'm virtually repeatable, so they would say, "Nazar is a real thing." They say it like this: "Nazar is a real thing." So because they have this fear of nazar, they are therefore afraid to share with other people their path or their knowledge.
we can relate to that, especially in all our parents say, well, don't do that.
Yes.
This. But I think it comes to a point where parting knowledge, it's not showing in your business, or it's parting the knowledge and growing that's important.
Yes.
And maybe times were different before, but if you take it from before, like you say, you give them a home where there was like you affected people staying in one house, your brother and what they chose to
become night also. We as Muslims understand that any morsel that is meant for you will come to you, and any morsel that is not meant for you will not find its way to you.
But like you were saying, if your brother was a doctor and he told him go into dentistry.
Yes.
That's all. Kind of a part of networking and working together in building community. Because it's like, okay, I'm in the
Yeah.
You go in a dentistry.
Yes.
We can cover broad spectrum. Say one day we decide to open up a medical center. We can cover dentistry. We can cover, so you can become all in one destination.
Yes.
Place. And that's the idea of networking. It's not about cutting anyone short or stealing to somebody's profit.
Yes.
And that's what we left in this is one thing you better the Jewish community. They know how to network. Say if you in practicing, and you sell electrical bulb. I do done well. You always the guy that's doing electrical won't start plug.
Yes.
We come to you. You then let's work together because my guys also do. They also need the guys that come to me need plug and stuff. The guys that come to you need electrical stuff. So let's work together.
We're in a space that you are. One day you're going to get to this level. But I saw a interview by Patrick David yesterday, and he was interviewing a Jewish guy, and he asked them, why do Jewish people make so much money? Why are they so successful? So the Jewish guy explained to him, this I saw yesterday, that in a Jewish game, if this one person makes money, then there are other 5 Jews that make money. That is the process. They take the community work on them in that particular process.
They have the concept of networking, of putting community together.
Yes.
So they work within one another, and then you put in. That's how they start in every major industry you see in the world today.
Yes.
These Jewish corporations that sit at the top of these things.
Yes.
Like trying to like that.
Yes.
Build that in your business.
Absolutely.
The concept of business is building a community, and by building a community, everybody benefits from it. It's not just one person. That's why networking we feel is important. You then started dentistry, began your journey, dentistry, grew the love for it. At some point, you obviously decided, look, I'm getting older now, and maybe I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. So you would choose to maybe invest in other opportunities. At one point, do you make that decision, and which path did you take towards those decisions?
Okay, so when I mentioned to you earlier that you guys have the option of time, perhaps, or the option of choice. In our days, we really didn't have that option of time whatsoever. Especially now, critical, as you know, the most valuable commodity we have these days is time. I did the strange thing in the sense that And in the 1 month, it was progress. I got married, bought my first practice, and bought my first house. But no money at my disposal at all. So when I started up in my first practice, I bought my first house. This was a mind-boggling event for me. And when I bought my house, I discovered this real deep sense of passion now that I have for property, right? So we had lived in our houses. We were exposed to our one house. And when I got here, I learned a very, very valuable lesson on that particular level. The conventional thing at that point in time was for any Muslim guy coming out, and your family was particularly will always be in my mind forever and ever. So the conventional thing, the normal thing for a up-and-coming superstar to do at that point in time was to buy a house in Mayfair. All the fancy guys like the Bangis, Yusuf Bangji, all the guys were buying houses in Mayfair. If you could buy a house in Mayfair, you were the guy. And the standard one-line in any newspaper was walking distance to the mosque. When I then started analyzing the property market, that's just a normal guy. I perchance came across a house here in what people call Melbourne, was actually USD. And I realized for a fraction of the price of a house in Mayfair, I would get a much better house than I would get in Mayfair. But I also learned one very valuable lesson on the very day I come into the house. And as I walk through the house, I come out of the backyard and I stayed like this, and I'm absolutely amazed at the view that I've seen. I'm standing like this, and here is the Rao UJ grounds there at the back with the lake here, but not about the Western Dam, another lake. And I stayed like this, and the agent, as-agent sharply looks at me, he says, well, do you like this view? I say, yes, I do. He says, well, you better, because you're paying 50,000 rand for this view. So anyway, I then bought that house. And that's when my passion for property grew. And so what is I deviated into all of the other avenues that people would normally do. The stock market, unit trust, syndication. It was property that I found my greatest passion and love. I loved the aspect of being able to create something from nothing. I like the aspect, the key thing that I like in property is the fact that it gives a poor guy like myself or any other poor person the opportunity to build generational wealth, which you cannot really create in any other facility. But with property, because of pumping in, using other people's money, because of the ability to leverage, you can virtually over a period of time, because as you know, property is a long-term game. So you can, over a period of time, build an incredible portfolio. And today, property investment has been fine-tuned a lot to a science and an art. And I'd like to think, but I'm a scholarly property investor. I'm not a guy that's taking a chance on the side this way, but I study property, I go to seminars, I belong to networking clubs, as you indicated, on various aspects of property, from just investment to development to management, all of those kind of stuff. And that's the avenue that's brought me the greatest joy and the greatest success.
Okay. So in buying your first home, I mean, you see it in our older generations as well, that your house is always taught that you need to buy a house.
Yes.
Anybody will tell you, especially from the older generations,
Yes.
buy a house.
Yes.
I've come to realize over a period of time, because I bought a house and I know what goes into running a house.
Yes.
And they always give you the thing at the house, it's property, it's an asset.
Yes.
Your personal house is not an asset. Your personal house is an liability. It does not generate any income to you.
Yeah.
But there is another aspect, that needs to be highlighted, that your house also creates stability for your family.
Yes.
It's a place of comfort, it's a place of stability in your household and family. And I see that there's a time and place for you to step into that space.
Yes.
And we must not rush into it. Whereas before, the older generations were like, making something, go buy yourself a house.
Yes.
That's what you need to do. It's an asset.
Yeah.
I don't see a house in an asset. I see your personal house. You buy a house to rent, yes, it gets a different, that's a whole different discussion of its own, like you highlighted quite a bit of it.
Yes.
But in buying a house, I think it needs to be bought at a particular time. And when you decide, okay, I have X amount to spend, I think you should at least cut it by half.
Yes.
and then work on behalf about is to what you want to spend in a house.
Yes.
And how you really can finance in a house. So it's because there's a lot of other things that come with the house. And I like that I bought my house.
Yeah.
So I'm that I'm still burning my house though. Like, my house is maybe 3/4 done. Yeah, and moved in. I'm still burning quite a lot of it. The main structure was things stuff. But it's a continuous expense. It's not another thing.
So how would you, so let me share with you. So there was really a moment in time. It was truly like a moment in time when somebody up there released this statement that your own house, the house that you live in, is a liability. And it shook the community to its core because we had never heard anybody say that your own house is a liability. So what is an asset? An asset is something that generates an income for you, generates wealth for you. What does your own house do? Never generates any income. It's like a bottomless pit and it only takes money and money and money. So your own house is without doubt a liability. But there are mechanisms to which you can make your own house an asset. One of the first things that happens is that just by taking that step of buying your first house, buying that liability, sets you now on a path of education and sets you on a path of discipline and sets you on a path of survival. And those life experiences cannot be bought from a textbook, cannot be bought from a discussion, cannot be bought from networking. You now have those personal experiences. So you've now got to start paying the 10 grand every month towards your bond. You got to pay the 10 grand every month to your bond. And you now start feeling this pain. You're experiencing this pain personally. That activates a process of activity from your side, which will now either say, listen, I'm going to sell this house and do something, or I'm going to do the next step in my property journey. But with this aspect of leveraging, you can now use your own house to create the stepping stone for your first property investment. So all of a sudden, you turn that particular house of yours, which is a liability, you turn it into an asset by that being used correctly as the stepping stone for truly building your property portfolio.
The key word is using it correctly.
Correct. That's the key.
You finance it the wrong way or something,
You can never seem out it. Absolutely.
Yeah, you sing it with something.
And lots of yaqeen in Allah, and lots of discipline, and lots of dua.
The next thing I want to touch on the bit is we as you can see the Waja Ka Meno Trust, something you started. When did you when did you decide to start this trust? And how is that journey? Because now there's something completely different to making money. And it's a completely different side.
So it's so insane, Zubair, because you asked me, why did you do dentistry? And I said to you, there was absolutely no passion involved, and I got into it. And funny enough, if you take into account my business journey now, I'd always ask myself the question, I was registered for PICO, signed and sealed at Wits University, registered. And then last minute, I get the call to get into dentistry. And I asked myself, can you imagine if I had the business skill that I would have had had I done BCom and I'd done chartered accounting? What would my journey have been then? And I think more so, especially as I'm aging, I then realized this aspect where Allah has a role for it. So what's happened is that I went into dentistry, and from our first year, and I've got some few students up out of China here, and this is the story. So up out of China was a teacher at JMS school, and before she taught at JMS school, she used to teach special needs kids in Jiswa, which was a special needs kid. Myself as a student used to go with her to Jiswa school, and so I'd teach these kids. I used to play with them, make party, and I can remember being there. But I always looked at these kids and I said, okay, one day when we can, we must send it back. So when I graduated as a dentist, we said, let's have little education programs and little programs where we give them toothpaste and toothbrushes. And we then ran that program with normal schools, and then we ran it with special schools like Jiswa. And it was a chalk and cheese situation. How the concept was appreciated by the normal school and how it was appreciated by special needs schools was entirely different. So we started that program, but we soon realized that, listen, there's only so much attention these kids can have to you telling them how to brush your teeth. We then added layers of entertainment to take the dental message across. In that whole process, I became a singer for these kids. Now it's well known. My ex and my songs are well known. I started doing these songs. Then the kids started saying, no way, you don't have it all of a sudden. We from the schools are going to do all these dental programs. They started doing these dental programs. And now, what happens is we have a day called a Dental Health Day, where we have about 1,200 special needs kids come to a particular function. And it's a carnival setup. It was designed to be a carnival setup. And these kids come in, that is a total dental education and funded. It's such a day that consistently people tell us, please do not let me miss that day. That particular day became one of the victims of COVID. You and I spoke about it earlier. So when COVID came to the fore, we had to give up that particular day. It's now we are under extensive pressure to recreate that particular day. The venue that we had it by was also purpose-built for our funding. That venue also became a victim of COVID. Doesn't exist anymore. So now we have to recreate that day. But with the mercy of Allah, as time went on, we evolved into what is called the Waja Ka Meno Trust. And what the Waja Ka Meno Trust does now is provide free dental care to all underprivileged special needs people. So any special needs person, whether it be cerebral palsy, whether it be mentally challenged, whatever they need be, they can come to us and we provide them with dental care. The one aspect that differentiates us so much is the fact that when these special needs kids come to us, they get the finest of dental care. So you spoke about markets earlier. The markets have changed. With our special needs kids, their market doesn't change. Their market is simply that they get the best dental care. So they would come to us from the most basics, scaling and polishing to a filling, right down to advanced treatment like implants, full mouth rehabilitation, and so on and so forth. In this particular setting where we have now, we have, after many years, created a purpose-built facility just for these kids. So there's a section where these kids can come for their dental care here, and this particular section that's been built is not shared between other patients as well. The aim is to see them anytime throughout the week, throughout the time they can be seen. Currently, when we started off, they would come through our practices and, we would then see it. But now we've got a purpose-built facility, especially for that.
Well, when you agreed to sit down with me, hear this conversation, obviously I need some backgrounds, stuff in the backgrounds and either. And I gave a cross out of your rock star performance. It was quite an interesting take, but how you turn something like dentistry into a fun-driven experience for your child, into educating in that way.
Yes.
Was quite an amazing thing.
If I can just,
I really appreciate it.
If I could just share something with you on that particular aspect, was it always sometimes gets to be a sensitive, so-called sensitive, not sensitive anymore, but can be a sensitive topic. I am genuinely of the opinion that each person must bring to the fore the gift and the character that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given that particular person. So, for example, if I had said there, like many dentists, because of the personality of a dentist, many people say like, listen, my son, you must brush round and round, okay? Brush round and round, okay? Brush round and round. This Waja Ka Meno would have gone absolutely no way. There's lots of dentists doing good work like that. The moment we took it to a level where we looked at these special needs kids and we understood what language do they speak, what resonates with them, what makes them come alive. And when we started seeing that and we took that avenue, and fortunately for me, I had the personality to take that through. So constantly people will say to God, the teacher will say, Dr. Waja, but yes, no one can do a thing like that. So up till today, I would do that because we see the benefit of that particular thing. So whatever gift you've been given, remember that's a gift Allah has given you. Your gift back to the world is to use that gift.
Social media, how is it that I'm sure it's a big part of it. Not just the trust part and your practice in that. Social media plays a big part in any business today, whether in the service space, whether it's a product, whether it's a brand, whatever it is, social media is a big part of growing your business, getting awareness, like even if it's not promoting your business, but sharing the knowledge of the industry or whatever it is.
Yes.
Your take on social media, what it has done for you, your business, even the trust as well.
Yes. So my take on social media is as follows. I certainly, firstly, I'm not a tech guy. So it took me a while to get into this whole social media vibe in it. But once I got into, obviously pushed by my kids because, they understand it much better. And as I got into it, I realized exactly what a powerful tool it is, but also what a dangerous tool it is. After several years of exposure to social media, what I in my personal space has decided is to find a path, let's call it sort of a median path, where I position myself, my businesses, or even the Waja Ka Meno Trust. So I haven't gone, and I deliberately don't go all out full force on social media, because it is almost, from what I've seen, like a dragon that needs to be fed and fed and fed and fed. I use it for benefits, so people have a sense of awareness, and I use it for a degree of entertainment, but it's certainly not one where I put every aspect of my life on view for the masses at large.
Interesting. Because of course, you've built a business, formed a trust, you've ventured out into properties, you've already explained. It's been a journey for you, and as you've highlighted, thank you for sharing the journey with us. My parting question is, just what we try to do at the end of all our podcasts, is what is the value of money for you, and how is religion played that role in your business, your life, or your beliefs, and what everybody's religious and certain people beliefs.
Yeah.
How has that played a role in your success? What is the value of money to you, and how has that helped you grow over time?
Yeah. It's a very difficult question that you're asking.
This is your own personal recon.
Over the last couple of years, as I grow, and I've really, when I must share with you the network that I have on a regular basis, for example, including tonight, is that I do have the benefit of sitting with such diverse people, from genuinely billionaires to normal guys just trying to make a living. And over time, my exposure has been extensive. And I've come to realize one of the biggest drawbacks in my setup is simply because I just do not have this deep-seated love for money. It's not something that drives me. It's not something that I wake up in the morning to go do the next deal, or to make the extra 10 rand in my bank, or what's my bank account looking like today. It's not that. I have forever, as long as I can remember from school, been driven by the fact that I must do justice to why I've been created. That to me is a spiritual component. That is a religious component. So if Allah has created you, God has created you, then do justice to the fact that you've been here on this earth. Hopefully, potentially leave the earth a bit better. And with that obviously comes all of the other components of your life, down to the more, prescribed religious practices of your salah, of your zakat, of your hajj, of your umrah. Obviously, those things fall into place. But obviously, your akhlaq, your activity on a day-to-day basis must reflect your value system.
No, I think building wealth is important. I'm not saying you must chase money and, make money everything that is. But you need a certain amount of money to develop comfort.
Absolutely.
And even Islamically, from a point of view, you must go out and work and do those things. You can't sit at home.
Yes.
Any religion will tell you, but I'm not going to provide for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you that. It teaches you that you must go out. And there's a lot of reward, even from a religious point of view, in going out. It should mean the work that you do. Or
whenever you have the right intention, your day-to-day work is a form of ibadah.
True. As long as you do it the right way, with the right means, in stuff like that. So that's the point. Like building wealth is important, but it shouldn't be everything. And I had this discussion with somebody else. They say no, they satellites. All these fancy cars and all these things. He's a young boy. That's all these fancy things and stuff. So they were like, no, you're not inspired for it. They cost so much money. You can do so much good with.
Yeah.
So my take on it was, don't kill the dream. He's still a boy. That's what he sees. He doesn't understand the concept of a 15 million Ferrari, for example.
Yes.
Students are like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anybody would say Ferrari.
Yes.
It does really like cars a lot.
Yes.
You can appreciate it. But the idea was, my take on it was, teach your children what it takes to get to that point. Because what happens is, and I get this from your journey, how you being, it's just me interpreting what you said, that over time, it was never about, building the factors or this thing. Yes, those were things, those were all, came as time went. But the idea was, by teaching them the principles and the hard work and what it takes to get to that point, you basically come to a point where you realize it's never, the child will realize, or in your journey in business and stuff, the money is a byproduct of what you do. The hard work, the consistency, those things are what I do in my further success. The money. So then it comes to a point where it doesn't become about the Ferrari.
Yes. Yeah.
But it becomes about working at, and yes, if you make money and you can do it, but I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But there's a difference. So your providers, like you say, you pay you as a car.
Yes.
And you do good to the community and stuff and that. But after your parents, it's a very important part.
Yeah.
And you just the incoming aspect as well.
Yeah.
But when you teach children and you groom children to understand what it takes to get to a point, I feel they learn the true value of what it is. So it never then becomes about what the object was initially. That's his goal. That's how he sees things now.
Yeah.
But if you teach him in the right way, yes, he may come to a point where yes, man. Then whether he buys a file, but then he have the understanding of.
Yeah.
So don't kill the tree. That's just my thing.
Yeah.
And then I want your feedback on this. That's my thing. Don't kill the tree. Use the dream as a tool to build and groom their child in the right way. So they build, like you say, generational wealth. So you may be in a situation today, but your son and your grandchild would be in a different situation because we teach them the right mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
And I definitely I think that's my approach to it. I don't know.
I think absolutely what you say is 100%, right? You really create, what can I say, a dream, or you really create an aspiration, or you feed an aspiration by taking a positive approach to it, rather than just killing it all. And by keeping that aspiration and dream positive, that makes that guy strive going forward. So that I fully agree. But the one thing I want to share with you, and this comes from all of our experiences now, the older generation, in as much as those parents want to teach the guy these various steps forward, the avenues of information and the avenues of influence has now become so diverse on a very platform which is social media, which is their friends, which is their teachers, which is much extended access compared to what we used to have. And as a result, it's really become a challenging area in terms of how much influence a parent or a teacher actually has on their child these days.
But this idea of what we try to do here, others for these of motivation is a means of showing people that there's a way forward, or respectable way when you are.
Yes.
Some people have to work harder than others to get it. But I think that's just how it works. That's just my understanding.
Yeah.
One was thing I wanted to ask, but I didn't mean to ask earlier. COVID was, you highlighted it before. You in dentist and you worked in people's mouth. What was your job?
Yes.
In COVID came, the rule was cover your mouth and your nose.
Yes.
We fast COVID. You're still in business. How did you manage that? And how was COVID in the dentistry industry?
So COVID left me with two important things that I will never forget in my life. But when COVID really came, I'll never forget that night sitting in front of the TV and this guy says, right, listen, shut your shop, shut your businesses, shut. We thought it was happening in France, it's happening in England, it's not going to happen here. And then that message comes at night and they say that as of tomorrow, you guys close your businesses, you close your practices, and you stay at home. When that moment came, it was a totally insane moment. One thing I must say with our generation, personally, it's a point we always discuss. I would go with the historians that say our generation have lived through the craziest of times. We are potentially the greatest generation of all time. Other people will argue, says, do you know what happened when they had the Black Plague? And do you know what happened when they had this flu and that kind of stuff? But anyway, our generation has gone through it all. World wars and the Russian collapse of the Berlin Wall and everything. We've been through it all. And then COVID comes. So anyway, we close our surgeries. It's a state of total confusion. No one knows really what this COVID is about. No one knows how to deal with this COVID. And we are told that don't go to the practices, close the practices, and so onwards. Coupled with that is all of this confusion that reigns at that point in time in terms of when will we open our practice, what will our new practices look like. So social media is going rampant, and people are creating lights, this blue light and this sterilization technique that costs hundreds of thousands of rands, these space suits that we would have to be wearing. And all of this is unfolding in days and weeks and days and weeks. So really it was an extremely turbulent time. Eventually we got to the point where we had to just do telephonic consultations. Then eventually we got to do the surgery just to talk to someone from a distance. Finally they got to what they call, this was a key moment, non-aerosol treatments. You can look at the guy, touch his tooth, but there must be no aerosol like spray created because of the spiral infection. And eventually, ironically, we got to the final stage where they realized that, funny enough, we as dentists were never as compromised as they thought we could be in the past. So alhamdulillah, we rode that path until eventually we went into a so-called normal. It wasn't normal. We all had our space suits on and we had all these things on it. We had 3 patients. Patients went through various protocols of getting into the surgery. It slowed the whole thing down and changed things for months and months. Until eventually, slowly, as we got a better understanding of the of the disease, as we got a better understanding of the vaccination process unfolded, we then went more into a normal kind of a situation. Currently, all of the new things that we learned in COVID, we still carry out these days. It's there, it's good stuff. But there's two things that I would always keep in mind. Number one, I always tell people, please do not let this pandemic be wasted on you. Because if you do not have an appreciation of what is important in your life now, then really that pandemic was totally wasted on you. When we stood in lines to bury people, we stood in lines to do this, in lines to do that. Do not let those times or that experience be wasted on you. And finally, if you do not understand by now that Allah is your sustainer and your creator, then you know nothing about it. Because our lives stopped for X period of time. And we kept on eating. We kept on drinking. Our staff kept on eating. Our staff kept on drinking. Different people had different challenges at that point in time. But Allah provided to all.
No, there's still Allah is a provider. There's things we believe that. But do you think, from a money point of view, look, I'm not downgrading or degrading the aspect of Allah being the provider. Do you think your investments that you made before, maybe were saving money or no, how you chose to live your life and spend your money?
Yes.
Was that not a key part in sustaining yourself through COVID? What way the other is?
No.
When you start the business, you also your expenses are very, you're managing your personal life and your expenses become a very difficult thing because you know what you need to take out or you want to take out, but you know your business can't do it.
Yes.
It's a very tricky road to me.
So the question you asked me now is such a powerful question and is such a pertinent question because what happened when COVID came, firstly, in our practices, we have never ever truly recovered from COVID. And this is across the board in many businesses. So our businesses have not gone to what it was pre-COVID to what it is now. Even people in the retail business, even people in a hotel business will tell you that up till now, they are 30-40% down on pre-COVID business. That's step number one. As we went through that period, Allah gave us our test. We soon realized that all of these aspects that we had built in an untold from a very personal perspective
I, in COVID time, in order to survive, in order to keep alive, had to cancel all my retirement annuities out of necessity. And I've never reinitiated it. So right now, I say to my wife or I say to my family, understand this. There's no umbrella. There's no umbrella. Now it's total dependence on Allah, which we know we depend on it. But COVID was a factor that resulted in those kind of changes taking place. Things that were built up, remember, were built up for 30 years. COVID forced us to say goodbye to those things. We said goodbye to them. Even properties, right? If you were owning properties and you could not pay the banks and that kind of stuff, there were these holidays that were asking for payment holidays, were asking for all those kind of stuff. Like, fundamentally, people lost a lot. We lost a lot in that time.
Okay. No, that's the idea was just, making, like, yes, Allah is a provider.
Yes.
In stuff, that reward is missing.
Yeah, and the thing, yeah, I like to know, every easy Muslim family, but I tell you that.
Yes. But you also have to be, you have to be smart as well. We need teachers in the day.
Yeah.
How we spend all your money.
Yes.
You got to be smart about how you spend your money. Don't waste, man. Don't do all those things.
Yes.
Do it like in a reason.
Yes.
And that's what I'm just trying to learn in terms of, for asking you that question. How we doing on them?